To the people up there, down there, in the middle, the fine people of Hartford, Connecticut. What do you want to talk about? Libations. Listen, guys, this episode of Smackdown was actually pretty entertaining. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? Now, I would not go as far as to say this episode was good, but it was definitely entertaining. Now, there were some problems, there were some botches, and there was some absolutely garbage content shown tonight, but for the most part, this actually ended up being an entertaining episode from start to finish. Now, we started off with Jimmy Uso, who's basically coming out to the ring, got a nice pop, everything like that. One thing I have to say, I think this episode and next week's episode are both, they were both taped on the same night, so next week's episode is going to be the taped episode that was filmed from 8 to 10 p.m., but the one we saw tonight was filmed from 6 to 8 p.m., right? So next week is technically the show we were supposed to see tonight, but just at a different time. It's very weird. I don't know. Anyways, this is what we got. Jimmy Uso basically comes out to the ring, and he's basically saying, the usual stuff, right? Like, yo, what's up, Us? He comes out on crutches, obviously, because he broke his big toe. And one of the first things he says, he's like, War Games was a big deal, and they thought they were going to get Big Jim, but they got my big toe, though. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get Big Jim, but they got my big toe, though, you dig? So that was a pretty interesting situation that they took care of there. It was pretty funny. Jimmy Uso's a very entertaining guy on the mic, and that's all it was. It was a bunch of joking and talking about how crazy War Games was, and, how proud he was of Jey Uso for everything he had accomplished, how proud he was of Roman Reigns and everything like that. And he brought up the fact that there's no Wise Man, there's no Punk, there's no Roman, there's no Jey, and there's no Sammy next to him. So now he has to figure out what's next after this injury and what's next for Big Jim. Ooh, and right after he says that, he gets Claymore kicked to the side of the head, bruh. Now the thing is, too, during this promo, there was a lot of awkward, staring in the distance by Jimmy Uso. I don't know if he was reading off a teleprompter or what was happening there, but it was an entertaining promo regardless, and, they had to pipe in the crowd noise, obviously, because it was taped and stuff like that, but yeah, Jimmy Uso does that and then gets Claymore kicked by Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre basically beats him up and hits him a couple times, and then he stands up and walks away from Nick Aldis after being pulled off by the security and the refs and everything like that. Basically just adding more fuel to the fire for Drew McIntyre basically going after the Usos and going after Sami Zayn as well. Then we get this backstage segment here with Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton is basically backstage with Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, which again, I don't know why Candice LeRae is just being forced into literally everything revolving around Nia Jax right now. It's pretty embarrassing. But either way, what happens here is that Tiffany Stratton is basically told by Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, they're like, you don't need any interference to win this match, so we're not going to come out and help you at all. Basically being jerks to Tiffany, making her feel bad or whatnot. Obviously setting up a cash-in that's probably going to happen over the next couple months, or in the next month, or in the next few weeks. Who knows? Who cares? The amount of times that I've actually sat down and heard, it's Tiffy time, and she runs out with the briefcase and doesn't cash in is absurd. So I don't care if she cashes in anymore. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't care. Pretty much that's the end of this backstage segment. Now, after this Tiffany backstage thing with Nia Jax and, Candice LeRae, we basically get this backstage segment with Nick Aldis, Bianca, and Naomi. Now, Nick Aldis is basically telling Bianca, okay, look, Jade is out still. We don't know who the attacker is, but apparently the investigation is still ongoing. But the question is what's going to happen with the tag belts, right? So Nick Aldis is basically saying, if you can't find a new tag partner, or if Jay doesn't come back in the next week or whatnot, we're going to have to take the tag team titles off of you and give them to somebody else, all right? So that's just the situation. But Naomi's next to Bianca, and Bianca basically says, look, I understand that, Jade's not here right now, but me and Naomi, we can still fight this out. She can sub in and be my partner for the time being until Jade gets back. And then Nick Aldis says some stuff like, oh yeah, I'm going to run it up to the higher ups. I'm like, dude, you are the higher up. You're the GM of your own show. So who are you running it to? Triple H? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. So that's that. Basically, Bianca's new tag partner and I guess the new honorary tag team champion is Naomi along with Bianca Belair. So that's that. And Tiffany basically, moves on from that. And we get Tiffany versus Michin. This match was atrocious. Everything revolving around the women's division tonight was absolutely diabolically bad. That's really all it was. There's no real entertainment value to any of it. It was pretty boring. And on top of that, none of the stuff made any sense. And we're going to get to that in a little bit later. Tiffany versus Michin, like I said, said, though, was an absolute botch fest from start to finish. Pretty much what happens is that Tiffany Stratton, she basically is trying to hit the Alabama slam. There was a couple moves that just were a little bit choppy at certain points in time, and that's just kind of how it went throughout the whole entire way of the match. After this occurs, we basically have a situation where Tiffany Stratton gets put in this weird submission hold, I should say, on the ropes, and after she's put in the submission, she kind of gets out of it. Michin gets back in. She hits a couple cool DDTs, so that's nice. But after this, Tiffany Stratton basically, what happened? She tried to go for the moonsault. Yeah, this is the worst part of the match, the stupid ending. Tiffany Stratton goes for the prettiest moonsault, her finisher. She full-on hits the finisher as Michin's rolling forward because Michin botched it, and I guess was supposed to roll backwards, so Tiffany missed. But Tiffany full-on hits Michin right in the gut, and the announcers like Corey Graves and Michael Cole, she's like, oh, I don't think she got all of it, or I think she dodged it, even though Tiffany Stratton fully hit it 100%, and then Michin just gets up, no-sells it, and hits her with one of the worst-looking finishers ever, where she puts her foot to Tiffany's face and just, drops backwards, and then pins Tiffany clean in the middle of the ring. It is absurd how these things are taking place now. You have Miss Money in the Bank, who's eventually probably going to win World Championship gold, and she's losing clean to Michin, who will probably not even win the U.S. Championship tomorrow at the Saturday Night Main Event. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everyone is just made to look like a jobber now. At any moment. At any moment, everyone can just lose, right? Except for a specific amount of people that never get pinned. But other than that, everyone else is at danger of getting pinned by jobbers. So now we're going to get Michin versus, Chelsea Green for the U.S. Championship. And quite frankly, this is a boring match. I can already see it now. Their garbage match was fun, but the fact is that when you have a chance to have Tiffany versus Chelsea Green for the U.S. belt and maybe build on some story elements with her and Nia Jax and maybe have her cash in on Nia Jax at Saturday Night Main Event, add some gravitas, some shock factor. Instead, we're going to trade that in for Michin, who goes out and always gets absolutely zero reaction and zero pop. And we're going to have her go out with Chelsea Green. And we're going to basically see Chelsea Green win in about 10 to 15 minutes. That's the situation. It's a cop-out. It's low effort, and it's atrocious. So the women's division now absolutely is terrible, man. And I'm sick of hearing about, oh, well, at least they have, Intercontinental Championships and women's, U.S. Women's Championship because we've been asking for it. Yes, we have. And I personally am glad that they're adding those in. But the problem is that they're exposing how bad their women's division is on the main roster. Look at the Intercontinental Championship women's bracket. This is atrocious. Who is watching any of these matches and actually excited to do so? They're all going to be boring, and these are women that have never been seen on TV in months. Nobody cares about these wrestlers anymore, man. It's absurd. And the women's division in general is just atrocious. Even if they bring up NXT talent, yeah, they're going to have better in-ring matches. Yeah, it's going to be more entertaining when they're out there in the ring. But the backstage segments, the character work, and the promos are still going to be mid or even bad outside of maybe a couple NXT women that will come to the main roster and genuinely be great. So I genuinely don't understand it, man, at this point. It's absolutely absurd. The women's division sucks, and I don't care about the U.S. women's belt or the IC women's belt. Then we get to the main event of the night, pretty much. Roman Reigns basically has a video segment, right? Roman Reigns is in this video. He's basically, responding to everything that's been happening with Solo, post-Survivor Series. And Roman Reigns basically comes to the conclusion that, look, it's been a very tough year. Back in the day, him and Jimmy and Jay and Solo used to dominate people, winning gold left and right, long championship reigns, everything. But he lost to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, so he lost his championship. He lost his wise man when Paul Heyman got put through the table. But then Roman Reigns says most importantly, quote-unquote, most importantly, he lost his Ulafala. The same Ulafala that he could have easily grabbed after they beat Solo at War Games. And the same Ulafala that he's probably had multiple other chances to grab since coming back. But he hasn't been able to, I guess, for whatever reason. Maybe a plot hole, whatever. But Roman Reigns says he needs the Ulafala back. So he basically challenges Solo Sikoa to tribal combat for the Ulafala on Raw on Netflix on January 6th. And Roman basically brings up the fact that the Ulafala is not something you just grab or you just take. It's something that you have to earn, right? And Roman brings up the fact that he was actually given the Ulafala, 4 years ago by Afa and Sika, his father and his uncle. Rest in peace to both of them, of course. He was given the Ulafala by them to, live or hold the responsibility of the family on his back. And that is what makes the Ulafala special to Roman Reigns. So he actually did a decent job in this video segment of explaining why it matters and why he's going to get it back, and also providing some hype for the January 6th Netflix episode for Raw. So this should be pretty cool. It's nice that Roman Reigns is able to wrestle on January 6th, but the crazy thing is that, it's going to be a prized commodity, right? When guys like Roman or, Punk or Cody or Rollins or Cena and Rock are showing up on Raw. But the crazy thing is that back in the 90s and 2000s, you would get Rock versus Triple H on a random episode of Raw, and you would also get like John Cena versus Randy Orton, or Cena and Triple H versus Orton and Batista, or something like that, or Undertaker versus Edge on like every other week on SmackDown or Raw. So the stuff that people are getting excited over now, we had like 10 times that like 15 years ago. So it really just doesn't make any sense, right? But it's cool to see that Roman and Solo are going to fight for the Ula Fala so we can speed this up. The real question is The Rock going to come out after this match and reveal that he is the one who's been really leading this new bloodline, team with Solo and stuff like that all along? He's been leading behind closed doors. Or is he just going to come out and challenge Roman Reigns for that Ula Fala in the head of the table because Roman lost the honor of their family by getting pinned by Mama Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, you know what I'm saying? So, we're going to see what happens with that situation. But, that's that. Pretty cool segment, pretty cool video, whatever. Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Strowman. This match was honestly just hilarious. It was like 5 minutes of just straight entertainment and humor. I mean, Carmelo Hayes' face when Braun Strowman is revealed to be his mystery opponent was awesome. And then they actually start the match, and it's basically just Braun Strowman doing a bunch of no-selling. Carmelo does his, like, springboard lariat, and he just falls down to the ground because Braun Strowman no-sells it because he takes no damage. And then Carmelo Hayes hits, like, this, like, backwards, like, DDT thing he falls into off the ropes, another springboard DDT, and it lands perfectly. He goes in for the pin and gets absolutely thrown away like a little rag doll by Braun Strowman. And then Braun Strowman catches him from the top rope, hits him with a running power slam, 1, 2, 3, squashes Carmelo Hayes. But again, this isn't really a full squash because Carmelo Hayes, obviously, the narrative is going to be he wasn't ready, he was in over his head, and he wasn't prepared for the challenge. You get what I'm saying? So I look forward to a potential best of 7 series between Melo and Braun Strowman, probably coming up with over the next couple months or maybe the next month or so. So we'll see what happens there. Then we get one of the funniest and best promo segments of the year. LA Knight is backstage with Byron Saxton, and he's basically saying that, I don't care for the bloodline at all. I don't care about Jimmy. I don't care about Roman. I don't care about Solo. Nah. You know what I'm saying? And LA Knight, dude, LA Knight basically says that Solo and the bloodline got in the way of him and gold. So now he's going to have to put his fist in the way of Solo's face, and he said he's also going to put his foot in the way of Solo's big fat behind, if you know what I'm saying. So it was absolutely hilarious, man. The way he said it too, dude. Oh, man. I mean, bro. Dude, I gotta go ahead and watch that back as soon as I'm done making this review. That is one of the funniest segments I've ever seen in my life, dude. So LA Knight cuts a phenomenal promo. Give this dude World Championship gold or bring him over to Raw and have him fight Gunther or something. He is phenomenal and he is awesome. Solo Sikoa comes out to the ring. He basically says, Hartford, Connecticut, acknowledge me. You know what I'm saying? All that usual stuff he says each week. And after this happens, Solo Sikoa is basically in a situation where, he has to sit down and basically say absolute nonsense, right? He basically says, I'm going to beat Roman, I'm going to do all this, and before he can really even get into anything, LA Knight interrupts him, and we get LA Knight versus Solo Sikoa. LA Knight versus Solo Sikoa was actually a pretty decent match for what it was. It was like 10 to 15 minutes. It was cool to see the different moves LA Knight was utilizing, the elbow, the side slams, the clotheslines, the diving drop kick thing he does outside or whatever, and he was, obviously dealing with the interference from Fatu and Tama Tonga the whole time. He beats them up. Solo had a couple decent moves, a couple Samoan drops. It was a decent and entertaining match for what it was, I'll be honest, right? It was consistent, and I wasn't expecting anything crazy, and they gave me a little bit better than what I was expecting, which was just a mid-match, so there you go. However, at the end of this match, LA Knight kind of beats up like Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, like tosses them over the announce table and kind of beats them up a little bit, and then tries to get Solo in the ring and pin him, but the problem is that Jacob Fatu interrupts and it ends in a DQ, and the bloodline just beats the crap out of LA Knight. That's pretty much it. Andrade tries to come out with what's his name, with Apollo Crews. Apollo comes out there, and he basically tries to help out Andrade and LA Knight, but they both get absolutely squashed in like 2 seconds. So basically the bloodline is being made out to look like they're way stronger and way more dominant than LA Knight is. And that's basically the situation with that. They beat the crap out of LA Knight, Andrade, and Apollo. Solo raises the ones up just to make them look dominant before, he has his match versus Roman in a couple weeks. So that's pretty much that. Then we get Chelsea Green versus Bayley. This is easily one of the worst matches I think I've ever seen in my life. I nearly fell asleep while watching it. It was boring, it was slow, it was mediocre, and Bayley absolutely killed the crowd, right? Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton, they got decent pops tonight. But when Bayley came out, the crowd was evaporated. It was evaporated. And this is like near the end of the show. So this is closer to, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is closer to the time where SmackDown's actually about to start, right? It's around like 7:30 or something like that. So it's like, yeah, like the real SmackDown's about to start. So they're about to be at, near max capacity in 30 minutes. And Chelsea Green gets absolutely zero reaction. Or no, Bayley gets absolutely zero reaction while everyone else did. Bayley needs to hang it up. She's washed. She's washed in the ring. She's not a good promo worker or mic worker, and her story and character are getting bland and boring. There's no real point of even having Bayley out there at this point. I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I obviously she's one of the 4 horsewomen, so that's great, but she has not done anything meaningful, relevant, or great in years. In years at this point. And her championship reign was one of the worst ones I've ever seen. So at the end of this, Chelsea Green wins. I don't really remember much of what happened in the match. Like I said, I nearly fell asleep, and I don't care. It was boring. The crowd was dead, and I nearly fell asleep too. So it happens to the best of us. You know what I'm saying? That's just a situation with that. Now on to the main event. I'm actually surprised I'm acting like this. Normally, right, these videos are like 20 to 25 minutes, but I don't think this was going to be super long because, everything did kind of flow together on this SmackDown. Everything was smooth. It flowed together. There was a lot of video segments, I'm not gonna lie, but they were from people who nobody cares about, right? There was a Motor City Machine Gun video vignette, and DIY one, a Shinsuke one, and probably 1 or 2 others. But to be honest, I don't even remember what they were talking about in those promos, and I really don't care. Until the Street Profits get the tag team championships, I don't care. The belts literally mean nothing to me. Unless the Usos or the Street Profits have them, nobody cares. Let's be honest with ourselves. Or the New Day too. New Day are awesome right now. They've been awesome for a long time, obviously, but they lost steam. But this new arc of Kofi and Xavier is just phenomenal. So let's hope they win something as well. But if it ain't the Street Profits, the New Day, or the Usos, or something like that, the belts mean absolutely nothing. Let's just be honest with ourselves, right? I don't care about the Motor City Machine Bums. I don't care about DIY, which is basically a copy of the Motor City Machine Guns and vice versa. They're the same teams doing the same moves. They have no charisma, no character. They don't cut good promos, and they're boring, right? It is what it is. So I don't care about those belts. And the stuff with Shinsuke, the reason why I said it was stupid to take the belt off of LA Knight, the U.S. Championship, is like I said, I predicted this in the Survivor Series review that I did. Shinsuke is not going to go anywhere with the belt. You see what I'm saying? After LA Knight had already won it from Logan Paul, the week after he was cutting good promos and defending the championship literally on SmackDown the week after. So why in the world has Shinsuke been a champion now for 2 or 3 weeks at this point? And this dude has not even defended it once. He hasn't even been seen in the ring saying a word yet. He hasn't wrestled. It's ridiculous, man. LA Knight is a much better performer. He's a much better entertainer. He's better on the mic. And at this point, believe it or not, people are going to try and debate this, but he's better in the ring as far as I'm concerned. He's more entertaining. He's more interesting. And he has a wider moveset as far as I'm concerned that's more entertaining and better for TV and better for PLEs. He's a bigger wrestler, better wrestler. That simple. But instead, they gave the belt to Shinsuke, who's contributed absolutely nothing and says the same stuff in every video segment. So that's that. Now let's get to the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, basically, is like in a promo segment interview thing, right? It's basically supposed to be a situation where Cody was going to come out, KO was going to come out, and Michael Cole was going to play mediator as Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes are basically answering questions and talking back and forth with one another. But the truth is that Cody Rhodes basically comes out and bores me immediately. He comes out saying the same stuff. Whoa! Whoa! He's just making random noises. He doesn't even say, so what do you want to talk about? He's just like, whoa! These people out here in Hartford, it's a great crowd over here. Whoa! You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's just boring. It's nonsensical. And Michael Cole's like, okay, well, Kevin Owens won't come out, so now we have to just out. And then Cody Rhodes like, yeah, Michael Cole, well, since KO won't come out, we'll just do this interview like professionals. You know what I'm saying? And as he's about to start talking, which, again, before he started speaking, he's like, well, let's just do this like professionals because we still have a live crowd here in Connecticut. And because of that, we are going to carry this out like men, Michael Cole. So go ahead and ask away, will you? He's just saying the usual boring stuff to get cheap pops from the crowd. We're in this great city. Hartford, can I hear ya? Some dumb stuff like that. Kevin Owens shows up in his car on a video, like on the video on the stage, right? He's on the ramp, talking on the screens. And he basically tells Cody Rhodes, nobody cares about what you have to say. Nobody cares about interviews. Michael Cole, you are biased, and you're basically a Cody Rhodes meat writer. And he tells Cody Rhodes, not only does nobody care about what you're doing, he also reminds Cody, dude, this is actually crazy. Kevin Owens really made this segment entertaining because Cody and Michael Cole offered absolutely nothing to this segment. KO basically says to Cody, he's like, no matter how many main events you do or how many titles you win, you will still still always be more interesting as Stardust. And KO later came out with a Stardust shirt on when he beat up Cody Rhodes, but that's that, but we'll get to that in a second. KO says that, and he also says the fact that Cody Rhodes is a bad brother and a bad son to Dusty, bro. And it was absolutely ridiculous. KO was going ham on this dude, man. He really, in the last 4 months, because this feud has been stretching back to the beginning of August at this point, right? And then, late August with the Bash in Berlin match with him and KO. In this entire 4 months, this feud has been atrocious for multiple reasons. But the one reason why it's been anywhere near watchable is actually because of Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, right? Randy Orton provides intrigue to it because it's Randy Orton and he's old friends with Cody. KO provides intrigue because in every segment or promo he's had with Cody Rhodes, he has 100% outclassed him in every single one of the segments or promos they've had in the last 4 months leading up to this match at Saturday Night Main Event. He 100% has. He's more charismatic on the mic, he's more interesting, he's more engaging, and he cuts deeper with what he has to say 90% of the time, deeper than Cody Rhodes. And that's just the facts. Kevin Owens is more interesting. He's better. He's a better promo worker. And in the ring, honestly, I like Kevin Owens matches more than I like Cody Rhodes matches in many cases because KO has a diverse moveset. And the only move I really like from Cody is the Cody Cutter, to be honest. And the Disaster Kick's kind of cool. But like Kevin Owens is just a more energetic guy. You know what I'm saying? He puts more effort into his matches, I feel like, than a lot of wrestlers. Not just Cody, a lot of wrestlers. So I think Kevin Owens has outclassed Cody Rhodes in this 4-month feud. And it wouldn't really make sense if you built up this whole heel run for KO and he's breaking Randy Orton's neck in kayfabe. All of this is happening just for Kevin Owens to lose tomorrow night in 15 minutes on a D-tier PLE? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. But either way, even though it doesn't make sense, Cody Rhodes is probably going to retain anyways. But the ending of this segment basically leads to Cody Rhodes is upset after KO absolutely roasted him. And he runs out into the backstage because he wants to go fight Kevin Owens. He's tired of hearing the talking. Puts the title down, goes out there, and he basically goes and fights Kevin Owens. They fight backstage, and all that stuff is basically going down. They fight all the way back out into the ring. It's just a bunch of brawling. They jump at each other a couple times. KO ends up getting the upper hand and beats the crap out of him and hits Cody with his own belt, which knocks him down. And then after this, KO stands over him tall and throws the belt on Cody. Now, obviously, another thing that was alluded to during this segment is the fact that Michael Cole asked Cody, what is the the little thing that Triple H gave you in a case in the exclusive video promo for Saturday Night Main Event? And basically, it's probably going to be the Winged Eagle belt that Cody's referenced in the past. I don't really care about this, quite frankly. It's going to be cool to see the OG nature of the belt and just seeing it in action is going to be cool. Seeing it out there is going to be fun to watch. But at the end of the day, man, I don't really care. Kevin Owens has done all this good work over the last 4 months, and he's probably going to end up losing in 15 minutes, and that renders this feud, that renders this build-up, that renders all the promos, and that renders all the good work KO has done over the last 4 months, and it renders this entire story meaningless, because if we're going to get to KO, or if we're going to get to Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship anyways, then what was the point of doing this little side stuff with Kevin Owens? You see what I'm saying? It's nonsense. Kevin Owens' entire heel run is going to end tomorrow night probably after he loses to Cody. Hopefully he doesn't, right? But he's probably is going to lose to Cody. And after that happens, he'll probably, be written off of TV for 2 months. He'll come back and fight Sami Zayn for nothing probably. It'll just be a friend versus friend matchup for the 20th time at Mania 41. And that'll be that. Kevin Owens will likely retire within the next couple years, and then that'll be that. It's absurd, right? But at the end of the day, this feud has been underwhelming. It's been bad. Just think about it in the fact that this feud has, spanned 4 months, or 4 to 5 months, however long it's been at this point, and nothing really has been great out of any of these segments or promos or build outside of the one promo Cody gave a few weeks ago, and then outside of that, it's just been all Kevin Owens carrying the feud along with Randy Orton and his contributions as well. It's been boring. It's been underwhelming. If they wanted to make it be a real blood feud, they could have gone a lot deeper, have them show up to each other's houses, beat each other up, cut deep, which apparently the only one of these dudes who's going to cut deep in segments is KO. So I'm done with this. I don't really care. I guess stay tuned for the Saturday Night Main Event review tomorrow night. Overall, this show outside of this segment, which again, it's not fully bad segment because KO did a great job. And then, Carmelo Hayes and Braun was fun. Roman Reigns' segment was decent. Jimmy Uso's opening segment was entertaining. LA Knight promo, one of the best promos of the year, was absolutely hilarious and very entertaining. So there were some very entertaining moments, but there was also some pretty bad and stupid stuff as well. So I would say this episode was mid. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Definitely not one of the worst SmackDowns, but not one of the best. Middle of the pack with some solid entertainment. Stay tuned for the Saturday Night Main Event review that will be out tomorrow night after the PLE is over. And as always, I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.